The most recent set of rumors began with a flurry of social media posts, many from unreliable sources that claimed Rick Harrison had been arrested and was currently behind bars. Some posts even featured doctored images that purported to show Harrison in an orange jumpsuit or sitting in a courtroom. These images, while compelling at first glance, were easily debunked upon closer inspection. In several instances, the photos were taken from unrelated court proceedings or jail mugshots, and had Harrison's face digitally superimposed using editing software. Others were taken from scenes in Pawn Stars, where Rick was joking about legal matters or handling items with criminal histories. These misleading visuals were then paired with sensationalized captions like "Rick Harrison finally busted" or "Pawn Star behind bars," phrasing clearly designed to trigger clicks and emotional reactions rather than to convey any real news. The rise of AI-powered content creation tools and easily accessible editing software has only exacerbated the problem. Now nearly anyone with a smartphone can create and circulate convincing yet entirely fabricated images or videos that appear to tell a compelling story. These manipulated visuals, once released into the fast-moving currents of social media, take on a life of their own. Within minutes, thousands, sometimes millions of people have viewed, liked, shared, or commented on them. By the time corrections or fact checks are issued, the damage has already been done. The idea that Rick Harrison might be in jail has already been implanted in the minds of casual followers, many of whom never read beyond the headline. It's a dangerous game of digital telephone where each share and repost often strips the story further from reality. Adding to the confusion, several low-quality websites picked up on the rumors and began publishing their own unverified articles, contributing to the illusion that the story had credibility. These articles often repeated the same fabricated facts, citing each other as sources in a self-referential loop of misinformation. Phrases like, "according to online reports" or "multiple outlets claim," were used liberally, but none of these sites provided actual documentation or quotes from law enforcement, court records, or any verifiable authorities. Some stories even went so far as to claim that Rick had been arrested following a sting operation at his pawn shop, or that he was involved in a criminal conspiracy involving stolen goods. These accounts were not only false but lacked any of the journalistic due diligence that would accompany a real news story of that magnitude. The psychology behind why these rumors gain traction is worth examining as well. Rick Harrison is not just a TV personality, he is a symbol of negotiation, value appraisal, and at times, confrontation. His on-screen persona is that of a no-nonsense, business-savvy man who doesn't suffer fools gladly. This larger-than-life image makes him a prime candidate for speculation and scandal. To some, the idea of Rick being arrested doesn't seem far-fetched, not because they have evidence or reason to believe it's true, but because it fits a certain preconceived narrative. When a public figure is closely associated with money, deals, and power dynamics, as Harrison is, people are more inclined to believe that some shady dealings might be occurring behind the scenes, even if there's no proof to support that. Belief, another contributing factor to the spread of these rumors, is the ongoing cultural obsession with downfall narratives. Audiences have become increasingly drawn to stories about successful people facing scandal or legal trouble. There is a perverse allure in watching someone who has made it experience a fall from grace. In Rick Harrison's case, the irony of a man who profits from others' desperate need for cash now being supposedly ensnared by the law feeds directly into this hunger for poetic justice, no matter how misplaced it may be. Social media algorithms, in turn, reward this kind of content. Outrageous claims generate more engagement than sober reporting, so the more scandalous a post is, the more likely it is to be promoted and seen by a wider audience. It is also important to consider the generational reach of Pawn Stars. The show has been airing for over a decade, crossing into multiple age demographics and being syndicated around the world. That kind of exposure means Harrison's face is instantly recognizable to millions, making any scandalous story about him likely to generate mass interest, regardless of its authenticity. Younger audiences might encounter the rumor through TikTok or Instagram Reels, while older viewers may come across it on Facebook, where fake news is particularly pervasive. Across all platforms, the rumor takes different forms. Sometimes it's a dramatic video, sometimes a quote taken out of context, sometimes a sensational meme. But the result is the same: a false impression that Rick Harrison is in legal trouble. Meanwhile, Harrison himself has remained notably unbothered in the face of these recurring hoaxes. Unlike some celebrities who issue immediate legal threats or emotional public statements, Rick has often chosen to respond with humor or casual dismissal. His confidence likely stems from knowing that there's no truth to the rumors and that his real fans, as well as credible news outlets, won't be swayed by internet gossip. In past instances, when similar stories arose, Harrison took the opportunity to poke fun at the absurdity of the claims, joking about how he was wanted in 49 states, or sarcastically thanking the internet for keeping him in the public eye. These responses, while lighthearted, also serve a strategic purpose. They show that he's unfazed, in control, and unwilling to dignify the rumors with serious concern unless absolutely necessary. Still, the proliferation of these rumors raises valid concerns about the power and speed of online misinformation. In a world where anyone can publish content and pass it off as fact, the burden increasingly falls on the individual to verify what they consume. For fans of Rick Harrison and porn stars, the lesson here is clear. Just because something is trending, widely shared, or appears to come from multiple sources doesn't mean it's true. When it comes to claims of criminal behavior or legal consequences, the gold standard remains official documentation, police records, court filings, or statements from those directly involved. In the absence of these, rumors should be taken with a grain of salt, no matter how convincing the presentation. In the end, the Rick Harrison jail rumors are nothing more than the latest in a long line of internet hoaxes designed to manipulate attention for clicks, ad revenue, and clout. While they may have caused a brief stir and momentary confusion, they have not withstood scrutiny. Harrison continues to go about his business, unaffected by the noise, and those who know him or follow his work closely understand just how ridiculous these claims really are. Still, the episode serves as a cautionary tale in our hyper-connected world, a reminder that not everything you see, read, or hear online should be believed without question. Adding fuel to the fire were a handful of clickbait-style articles hosted on obscure websites that have made a business out of spreading celebrity rumors. These pieces, often riddled with grammatical errors and lacking any credible sourcing, told elaborate tales of a supposed police raid at the gold and silver pawn shop. Some even suggested that Harrison had been involved in fraudulent activity or illegal pawning practices. Others cited anonymous sources or leaked reports, none of which were corroborated by mainstream media or law enforcement. One story even alleged that Harrison had laundered money through the shop, a claim that was not only false but entirely baseless in the absence of any legal documentation or legitimate reporting. The narrative spun by these outlets painted an increasingly dramatic picture of wrongdoing without providing a shred of verifiable evidence. Headlines such as "Pawn Star's Empire Crumbles in FBI Sting" or "Rick Harrison's Secret Criminal." Past exposed were deliberately designed to incite panic and curiosity, with the ultimate goal of increasing web traffic and generating advertising revenue, regardless of the reputational harm caused. These fabricated stories typically follow a predictable formula: a shocking claim followed by vague insinuations and a series of rhetorical questions meant to stir doubt. They rarely include quotes from named individuals, official statements from police or attorneys, or citations to court documents. Instead, they rely on a patchwork of half-truths, unrelated incidents, or outright inventions. One piece, for example, cited a years-old civil dispute involving the pawnshop's zoning regulations as proof of illegal business operations, even though that issue had long since been resolved and had nothing to do with criminal activity. Another article used a clip from an old episode of Pawn Stars, in which Harrison was seen refusing a stolen item and calling the police, as evidence of an ongoing investigation, completely misrepresenting the nature of the scene. In the rush to capitalize on Harrison's fame, these sites abandoned journalistic integrity in favor of sensational storytelling. What further complicates matters is the climate of suspicion and scandal that has enveloped various reality television personalities over the years, with shows like Duck Dynasty, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and even Storage Wars. Being marred by off-screen controversies, audiences have become almost conditioned to expect that their favorite reality stars might be hiding something. This bias, even if subconscious, makes them more likely to believe unverified claims, especially if those claims appear plausible within the framework of the show's themes. In Rick Harrison's case, the porn business naturally invites a level of scrutiny, dealing with items that have passed through multiple hands, some with questionable origins, and constantly evaluating the authenticity of merchandise makes for good TV, but it also opens the door for assumptions about illicit activity, assumptions that are rarely, if ever, rooted in truth. The constant negotiation over valuables and the occasional presence of law enforcement on the show are all part of the entertainment formula, but to outsiders or casual viewers, these elements can blur the line between reality and reality TV. This effect is further magnified by the trust gap between the public and the media. In an era where misinformation is rampant and traditional news sources are often accused of bias, many individuals turn to alternative outlets for their information, sometimes without verifying the credibility of those sources. This allows fringe websites and opportunistic bloggers to thrive, especially when they tailor their content to match the skepticism or curiosity of their target audience. In Harrison's case, the idea of a beloved TV star secretly engaging in criminal behavior is exactly the kind of narrative that can go viral in a matter of hours. Add a few fabricated details, a misleading photo, and a headline filled with vague accusations, and you have the perfect recipe for a digital wildfire. The truth about the current rumors is far less dramatic than the headlines suggest. As of the latest verified reports, Rick Harrison has not been arrested, charged, or even formally investigated for any crime. He continues to operate the gold and silver pawn shop, regularly appears on television reruns, and remains active in his other business ventures and public appearances. There has been no mention from any legal authority indicating that Harrison is under suspicion for anything, nor have there been any reports from reputable news organizations to support the claims being made online. These facts are readily available for anyone who takes the time to search for them, yet the allure of a scandal often outweighs the appeal of accuracy. In fact, Harrison has been known to engage with his fan base through social media, public events, and interviews where he often debunks rumors directly and with his characteristic dry humor. In one instance, several years ago, when similar rumors surfaced, Harrison addressed the speculation head-on during a radio interview, laughing off the claims and remarking, "If I had $1 for every time someone said I was arrested, I'd have to open another pawn shop just to store the cash." That quip not only showcased his ability to handle controversy with grace, but also demonstrated a clear understanding of how the internet operates in the age of viral misinformation. Rather than fan the flames by issuing aggressive denials or threatening legal action, which can sometimes lend credence to unfounded rumors, Harrison opts to maintain transparency with his audience, leaning on his well-established reputation and the facts to speak for themselves. Despite the rumors, business at the pawn shop has not appeared to suffer. The store continues to attract visitors from all over the world, many of whom come in hopes of meeting the stars of the show or seeing rare items up close. Harrison remains a constant presence both at the shop and in the media, where he is regularly invited to speak on topics ranging from American history to entrepreneurship. His resilience in the face of repeated rumor cycles is a testament to his staying power as a public figure and his ability to navigate the volatile waters of fame with poise. While false stories may continue to surface from time to time, Harrison's steady demeanor and proven track record suggest he is well prepared to weather any storm that comes his way. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time Harrison has faced bizarre internet rumors. He's previously been the subject of fake death reports, accusations of feuding with his family members, and even claims that the entire pawnshop operation was a front for organized crime, all of which were categorically false. These stories have ranged from the mildly amusing to the downright slanderous, often cropping up without warning and quickly gaining traction through social media and gossip sites. One particularly persistent hoax alleged that Harrison had been shot during a robbery gone wrong, complete with fabricated eyewitness accounts and doctored photos of police tape in front of the pawnshop. It took just hours for that story to be shared thousands of times, and yet not a single reputable outlet carried it. In the absence of credible reporting, it was eventually dismissed, but not before causing a stir among fans who flooded the shop's phone lines and social media pages looking for answers. In January 2022, Harrison made headlines when he revealed that his father, Richard the Old Man Harrison, had excluded one of his other sons from the will. This personal family matter quickly morphed into all sorts of wild theories about internal disputes and potential lawsuits. Though Rick tried to keep the issue private, the media circus surrounding it demonstrated just how quickly facts can be distorted when fame and family conflict intersect. Online commentators, many with no knowledge of the family's dynamics, began speculating on possible betrayals, lawsuits, and bitter rivalries. Forums were filled with conjecture disguised as insight, and anonymous posters claimed insider knowledge about secret infighting within the Harrison clan. In truth, wills and estate decisions are often complex and highly personal, but when the family in question is famous, every detail becomes fodder for public dissection, no matter how inaccurate. The interpretations may be, these experiences have made Harrison somewhat of a veteran when it comes to weathering the storm of public gossip. Over time, he's developed a thick skin, choosing to address some rumors while ignoring others, depending on their severity and reach. However, they also expose the darker side of fame in the digital age. The rise of deepfake technology, AI-generated images, and the ever-growing presence of clickbait content farms has made it increasingly difficult for the average internet user to separate fact from fiction. Entire videos have been created using AI to simulate Rick Harrison giving confessions or interviews that never happened, further muddying the waters for casual viewers. In the case of Rick Harrison, a man whose public image is synonymous with skepticism and verification, it is especially ironic that he should be the subject of unverified nonsense. The premise of Pawn Stars itself revolves around distinguishing the authentic from the fake, an irony not lost on fans who find themselves questioning whether the latest headline is just another hoax. In reality, Rick Harrison is still very much involved in his business and continues to be a vocal advocate for responsible pawnbroking. He has spoken on multiple occasions about the importance of running a legal, transparent operation and has often highlighted how the pawn industry is more strictly regulated than people assume. In public appearances and interviews, he has gone into detail about the rigorous processes his shop follows. Every item that comes through the door is photographed, logged, and reported to local law enforcement databases. State and federal laws require pawn shops to maintain detailed records, report transactions to law enforcement, and even hold items for a specified period to ensure they weren't stolen. The gold and silver pawn shop is known for adhering to these rules stringently, often going above and beyond to remain in compliance. Harrison has never shied away from these requirements and has gone on record defending the legitimacy of his business practices. He's explained how compliance not only protects customers but also shields the shop itself from liability and legal scrutiny. For someone supposedly behind bars, his continued public presence and accessibility make the rumors not just untrue but absurd. He's been photographed at local events, spotted by fans while dining out, and featured in recent social media updates that clearly show him going about his daily life. His son, Corey Harrison, has also shared family updates and behind-the-scenes moments from the shop that include Rick, further disproving any notion that he's incarcerated or missing in action. These are not the actions of someone trying to hide from public view or avoid legal consequences. Rather, they are the behaviors of a businessman who is still very much engaged with both his business and his fan base. Additionally, the History channel has not issued any statement about legal troubles or controversies involving Harrison, which they would certainly do if one of their marquee stars were facing serious allegations. In the past, the network has pulled or delayed content involving other figures who found themselves in hot water as part of its efforts to maintain a clean public image and adhere to ethical broadcasting standards. The lack of such a response regarding Rick Harrison is telling. Had there been even the faintest whiff of credibility to the rumors, the History Channel's legal and public relations teams would likely have taken swift action, either to address the controversy or distance the brand from any fallout. The fact that they've remained silent, continuing to air reruns and promote the series, speaks volumes about the truth behind the claims. Moreover, fans who have visited the gold and silver pawn shop in recent weeks report seeing Harrison in good spirits, still interacting with customers and occasionally filming segments for upcoming television specials. Tourists have taken photos with him, posted videos of their visits, and shared anecdotes about friendly encounters, all of which confirm that Harrison is not only free, but thriving. These first-hand accounts directly contradict the fabricated stories circulating online. They serve as real-time testimonials to his ongoing presence and activity, illustrating that the digital rumors exist in stark contrast to physical reality. For those willing to look beyond the noise, the evidence is clear. Rick Harrison is not in jail, nor is he embroiled in any criminal investigation. He's simply continuing the work he's always done, buying, selling, negotiating, and entertaining millions of viewers along the way. In an age where outrage sells and viral moments dictate narratives, it's no surprise that a figure like Rick Harrison would become the target of jail rumors. His brand is built around law, value, and negotiation, topics that already flirt with legal gray areas in the minds of some. His profession, by nature, deals in high-stakes appraisals, uncertain provenance, and occasional criminal history surrounding the items brought into his shop. That alone opens the door for assumptions, even when no wrongdoing exists. The fact that Harrison appears regularly on television dissecting the background of potentially stolen or forged goods adds a layer of irony to these rumors. His on-screen persona as someone who questions authenticity at every turn becomes paradoxical when he himself is the victim of a deeply inauthentic narrative. But what's more telling is how quickly fans and media outlets can jump to conclusions based on fabricated evidence and sensationalist headlines. In the rush for clicks and attention, accuracy is often sacrificed, and stories that play into the audience's biases, particularly stories involving law enforcement and celebrity misconduct, get amplified with little scrutiny. The cycle goes something like this. A false report emerges, usually seeded on a lesser-known gossip website or a viral social media post. This post is then shared across platforms, sometimes by bots, sometimes by real users unaware of its origins. The outrage or concern that follows, whether from fans defending Harrison or critics condemning him, drives the story forward. More views are generated, more comments are posted, and crucially, more ad revenue is earned by the original source. The story, now trending, is picked up by larger aggregator pages that prioritize engagement over integrity. Some might add a disclaimer or a question mark to the headline to maintain plausible deniability, but the damage is done. The falsehood spreads like wildfire, growing more outlandish with each retelling. In this loop, truth becomes secondary, and those affected, like Rick Harrison, are left to clean up the mess, often with little recourse beyond a social media post or a public denial. In some cases, even the denials are twisted into further speculation, with skeptics suggesting that a lack of legal response must mean there's something to hide. This situation also shines a light on the responsibility of media consumers. In the race to stay informed or entertained, it's tempting to take the first headline at face value, especially when it plays into preconceived notions or stereotypes about a person or industry. Rick Harrison, as a pawnshop owner, is already tethered to an industry often misunderstood by the general public. Many people still associate pawnbroking with shady deals and underground dealings, despite the fact that the modern pawn industry is one of the most regulated in the country. That assumption makes it easier for people to believe he might be involved in criminal activity, but as the Rick Harrison jail rumors demonstrate, due diligence and media literacy are more important than ever. If a story lacks credible sources, official confirmation, or verifiable evidence, it should be treated with skepticism, no matter how juicy it sounds. Consumers need to ask, where is this information coming from? Has it been confirmed by a reputable outlet? Is there a pattern of misinformation from this source? These are basic but vital questions that could stop the spread of many damaging hoaxes before they get out of hand. Harrison himself would probably agree, having built an entire career on asking questions, demanding provenance, and separating the real from the fake. His no-nonsense approach on porn stars has been admired for years precisely because it mirrors the principles of critical thinking and verification that are sorely lacking in today's media consumption habits. On the show, he doesn't buy an item until he knows it's real, and if he doesn't know, he brings in an expert. That approach, applied to news consumption, would make it much harder for false stories to thrive. Ironically, if more people adopted Harrison's own method of investigation before buying into rumors, stories like the recent jail allegations would never have gotten off the ground. It's a cultural contradiction that the same viewers who watch him demand documentation on rare coins or Civil War rifles will often accept a viral tweet with no proof as fact. Ultimately, Rick Harrison remains a figure grounded in reality, Despite the surreal rumors that occasionally surround him, he has not been arrested, he is not in jail. There are no police investigations, no federal charges, and no criminal trials looming in the background. There isn't even a whisper from law enforcement agencies suggesting that he's under suspicion. What there is, however, is a persistent appetite for drama, especially when it involves a well-known face. That hunger for sensationalism has always existed, but the mechanisms that feed it are now faster, louder, and harder to trace. In such an environment, reputations can be damaged overnight, and public opinion can shift based on a single meme or headline. Harrison's situation is a textbook example of how quickly a falsehood can grow legs online and why it's so crucial to verify